There's something special about slide film. Maybe it's the vibrant colors, or maybe it's the fact that you get a positive, so you don't have to scan or print just to see what you shot. Or maybe you like to spend more money to shoot a process that's been slowly dying as Fujifilm discontinues what remaining slide films they have to offer one by one. Whatever the reason, as much as I love slide film, it's not without its faults. It's trickier to process. Slides will fade over time, maybe with the exception of Kodachrome, and generally slide film is more expensive than C41 or black and white. But if you want to save a few bucks, you could always dabble in the dark arts of expired slide film. I was sent a fistful of Kodak Ektachrome 100 Plus Professional, also known as Kodak EPP. This film was discontinued in 2009, and at least with this batch, it sure shows. This film was sent to me by Adam. This was sent to me with the acknowledgement that it's expired and extremely fogged. So results like this didn't surprise me, but it's about as bad as I thought it was going to be. Old slide film, generally speaking, does not keep over the years. If stored properly, expired slide film can look as good as fresh film, but on the other hand, it can also look like this. I'm not sure if you could pick this up on camera, but you could actually see stuff in the frame. The whole roll was just one test frame bracketed 12 stops, starting at 100 and working my way all the way to EI 0.05. Yeah, looking at it in person, it's barely visible, so I really wasn't expecting much, but I scanned it anyway, and you could see something. And with a quick and dirty correction, it's not that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's really bad, but given the circumstances, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. The film was also sent to me with this print, showing me an example of what to expect. There was a note that explained that for best results, shoot the film at EI 0.75 and develop in room temperature C41 chemistry for about 6 minutes. And coming from these results, I'm down to try whatever. So I overexposed this roll by 7 stops and developed it in room temperature C41 chemistry, with one little wrinkle. I didn't have any fresh C41 chemistry, so I used some old stuff I've been using for months. To give you an idea of how spent this chemistry was, a normal C41 development is around 3.5 minutes. This was developed for about 12 minutes, and it still came out a little thin. With all that in mind, I was just happy to get results. Looking at the negatives, I didn't have too high hopes, and the initial scans didn't really inspire too much. But with a quick color correction, it actually doesn't look too bad. If you ignore the uneven development going on here, I would categorize these as serviceable. Now, if C41 worked, what about black and white? I developed this in D76 for about 7.5 minutes, and I got stuff. This was also shot at EI 0.75, and it turned out looking alright. I would say this is even borderline usable. If in a pinch this is all I had, I might be able to make it work. Now, I then tried to trichrome it, and it kinda worked. So if black and white worked and C41 worked, why not try both at the same time? Now, just a quick little tangent. The E6 reversal process involves 6 different chemical baths. The first developer is a black and white developer. I'm sure E6's first developer is specially designed for E6 film, but essentially any black and white developer will work. The reversal step is usually done chemically, but it could also be substituted by pulling the film out of the tank after the first developer and intentionally fogging it. And the color developer and C41 developer are close enough. Now, I'm not going to pretend to understand the differences between CD3 and CD4 agents, which is one of the things that differentiates between E6 and C41 developers, but I know they're close enough. And it will develop film, but you're probably going to get some color shifting. And then the pre-bleach, bleach, and fix steps can be substituted with C41 Blix. meaning you could develop slide film using run-of-the-mill black and white and C41 chemistry. It might not be perfect, but you can get positives. This isn't new, people do this all the time, but the big difference here being I've never tried this before, and I'm going in with expired film and old C41 chemistry. So maybe take these results with a grain of salt. Technically they're positives. At first glance it almost looks monochrome until you look at this test chart. You could actually see that there's some color there. The scans look a little better, but it's still rough. But with a quick correction, it's okay. At first I thought it looked pretty good, but then I looked at the color chart. Here's the same chart developed in C41. The three main squares to look at are these three. This one should be red, this one should be green, and this one should be blue. The reds here are like a dirty green, and the greens are like this grayish orange, but the blues look fine. And the rest of the chart looks like a hodgepodge of just sad colors. With that in mind, these pictures do have this dour vibe to them. If you have old film like this, you could still salvage something. If you're lucky, it'll come out looking just fine, but from my experience, this is more of a common sight. You might not get perfect results, but you can get results. I'd say it's worth trying. Or not.